This is a Sandy Boy Productions podcast.
Welcome to the Urban Pharmacy Podcast, where we help women remove the overwhelm of living their most holistic life. This is the place to find evidence-based nutrition tactics, healthy lifestyle and wellness tips, abundance mindset, and easily implementable low-tox living strategies so you can rise up to your full potential and protect your family's health. I'm your host, Stacey Heine, certified holistic nutritionist and better living advocate. Now, let's get empowered with some simple swaps that make a big impact for optimal wellness. Welcome to episode 21 of the Urban Pharmacy Podcast. I am so excited to tell you about today's guest. It is my friend Julia Murray, born and raised in Whistler. She is an Olympian and registered holistic nutritionist. She's a co-founder, spokesperson, and coach of 80/20 Plants, the plant-based transition app. She's the vegan blogger and Rouxbe certified plant-based chef behind Hooked on Plants. She's also been named one of Canada's top vegan athletes by Impact Magazine and is certified as a Main Street vegan lifestyle coach. She is the social media manager for No Meat Athlete and Compliment. She's the co-creator of Vegan Whistler Fest podcast and the virtual fest too. Vegan since 2015 and always making the most of her adventurous backyard playground, Julia's mission is to help the world move toward plants. Let me tell you, this episode is jam-packed with so much fun information, including Julia's story, how she, did her athletic endeavors and then transitioned to her plant-based lifestyle and what she's doing there and how she's impacting so many people within the app that she promotes and helps create. Can't wait for you to learn more about that. We also talk about her entrepreneur endeavors, plus her vegan dog, and just all things plants. It's super fun and so light. And I think that you're going to also see that Julia herself is a light in this world, and everybody needs more Julia in their lives. So I hope that you find so much value in this episode and really, really love all of the content that we have provided. If you do love this episode, please give us a 5-star review and let us know that you want more episodes like this. This one was kind of off the cuff and just so much fun to make. So enjoy, and remember that if the world could go 80% plant-based, it would look so much different and so much better. And that is the message that I got from today's episode. I can't wait to see what you learn. Be well. All right, Julia, welcome to the Urban Pharmacy Podcast. I am so glad to have you here, my friend.
I'm happy to be here. And I've actually been listening to your podcast on my runs the last few days.
Oh, gosh.
Well, you've been doing great.
Thanks for that. Aside from some of the audio issues that we had for some of the episodes, we've got so many good ones coming up. So really excited about that.
Yeah, congrats on launching. That's awesome.
Well, thank you. Thank you. And thanks again for being here. You are somebody that I've been wanting to talk to for so long because I've been following you and you do all of the vegan things. I mean, seriously, we're going to touch on all of it today. And I can't wait to hear about your story, about your journey through entrepreneurship, and all of your amazing resources that you've created for people who are curious about plant-based living. So I'm excited to hear all your stuff.
I'm excited too.
Let's start with your story. So, I mean, this could be long, but we will see which came first for you. And I think I know the answer, but I want to hear it. Did your plant-based journey or your Olympic endeavors come first? How did your story unfold? Where did it start?
Take me back. Okay. Well, yeah, first of all, skiing happened. So I was a ski racer. I grew up in Whistler, skied since I was 2 years old. And eventually, after ski racing, I switched over to ski cross because it was the brand new sport in the Olympics. They were going to make the debut of ski cross in the 2010 Olympic Winter Games, which is my hometown Olympics. So 4 years before that happened, they needed to create a national team. And so I was part of the very first national team for ski cross back then. And from there, I went, 5 years touring around World Cup tour. And I ended up going and competing in the Olympics in 2010 with a blown knee, unfortunately, but that's a whole other story. But then afterwards, after retiring a year after the Olympics and another blown knee later, I decided to, well, first of all, go to school for communications because I didn't know what to do. So I got a diploma in communications. And then from there, I started, we just briefly talked about this, but a breakfast cereal. And from that, I was like, I need to learn more about nutrition if I'm selling this breakfast cereal. And I took my holistic nutrition course from Canadian School of Natural Nutrition, became a holistic nutritionist. And from there, that's when I realized that eating a plant-based diet is the best thing that I can do for the inflammation in my knee. And also, I love to eat. And the fact that you can eat in abundance when it comes to plant-based eating really got me into it.
Heck yeah. I saw that you had mentioned that, like when you had sent, your notes or your bio over, I saw, and that's something that I wanted to talk about with you a little bit more, the eating in abundance when it comes to plant-based living. That is like, I think 100% why I have been able to maintain this lifestyle for well over a decade. Like it is the abundance. There is no restriction unless it comes to eating jars of almond butter. Now you have to like stop it at some point, but like there's no, like, you don't have to put things in little cups. I mean, the abundance is where I feel everybody can succeed with this. And that is why you teach probably people, hundreds of people, thousands of people potentially about this. So I'm really excited that you mentioned that because I think that more people need to understand this is an additive lifestyle versus, taking away. So, awesome. Exactly. So your knee, was it the same knee that you blew? Like, was it the same side twice?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, my left side always gets injured for some reason.
And then you learned about the inflammation and how plants can help that. And then you were hooked,
hooked on plants.
You're hooked on plants. That's your Instagram handle. And okay, so let's just go back to the athlete thing. I know that you're also in Canada named like the vegan athlete. Like, what is that you're named? Like, how did you get that title?
I think that was Impact Magazine. Yeah, a few years ago.
Okay.
One of Canada's top vegan athletes, they said. So
nice.
I don't know. There's lots out there, but yeah, I think that was cool. But I think that with the inflammation thing, that is definitely such an important part of going plant-based as an athlete. And athletes now around me, like actual friends now are going plant-based who are athletes, like pro skier. Ian McIntosh, a really good friend of mine, he's been kind of watching what we're doing the last few years and easing into it. Now he's doing it for mainly the environment, but he's like, oh my God, like the inflammation that I used to have isn't there anymore. And my endurance is way better. And so, yeah, as an athlete, plant-based eating is sort of like the secret sauce, I would say.
Heck yeah. Okay, so you said that he was originally doing it for the environment, but then he felt the bodily, like, amazingness. Okay, so that's really
especially cutting out dairy, he said.
Oh gosh.
And sure. I found that too, like cutting out dairy. My skin used to be really bad as a teenager. I was drinking like a glass of milk every single dinner and, like not minimizing dairy because we didn't know anything about that. But yeah, as soon as I ditched dairy, I just felt less puffy in general, and my skin has never been better since going plant-based. So that's another really great side benefit of going plant-based too, is the skin.
Heck yeah. Drop that inflammation as fast as possible. That dairy, it can really put a toll on our body. Okay, so that is something that I wanted to ask you. Do you have a message to send to athletes that may feel fearful to go vegan or plant-based because they fear that it might hinder their strength or their performance? And like, what can you say that is going to counter that? Because I'm sure you have lots of insight on that.
first of all, watch the Game Changers, because they cover all of that, and it's so in depth and really entertaining. Love James Wilkes and all he's doing. And I would just say that as long as you're eating enough calories in general and a diversity of plants, then you don't have to worry about anything. One thing that we teach within our app, 80/20 Plants, is, when people are feeling tired by making the switch, it's because calories, plants are naturally more calorie deficient and they're more nutrient dense, but they're high volume too. So it's like, you got to eat more plants to actually fill up on calories. And that's a fantastic combination when it comes to weight loss, which is why people tend to easily, drop the extra 5 or 10 pounds when they go plant-based, is because it's that high fiber, high volume food that doesn't have many calories. So the calorie density is low, nutrient density is high, and the water content is high too. There's no water in dairy and meat products, and there's no fiber either. And with dairy and meat, you have saturated fat, you have cholesterol, and with plants, you don't have any of that. Plus, you have the antioxidants, you have the phytonutrients, and so it's just like the perfect package, especially for athletes, because of the antioxidants, and you're helping with inflammation because of that.
Yes. Oh my gosh, all so good. Okay, good. So we've crushed that. We're all watching the Game Changers. Everybody needs to do that. There's nothing to fear. There's only things to gain when it comes to being a vegan athlete. Plus, we're saving the earth. So all the good things. Yes. Okay, so
all the good things.
Just speaking of veganism, I wanted to ask you this, and this is a little bit off topic, but it's okay. I know that you have a vegan dog, and so do we. Yeah. So we, awesome. Both of our dogs have been eating vegan for about 4 years now. And once I learned that dogs can get heart disease, just like we can, that's why we switched. But what made you switch for your dog?
Oh, that's so cool. I love that. We adopted Zach about 2.5 years ago, and he was 8 months when we adopted him. He was just a stray in Kamloops, just 4 hours up the road. But he always had skin issues. Like when we adopted him, he had all these hot spots all over his body. And we're like, oh, he's just super sensitive. His digestive system is sensitive. And so right away, I wanted to switch him over to a plant-based or vegan diet because, the fact is they're not obligate. It's a hard word. Carnivores like cats are. They can actually thrive on plants. They're omnivores, which is weird. People don't really understand that part about dogs, but they can. Lots of vegan dogs living long, healthy, vibrant lives. And so I ended up switching over to a bunch of different vegan foods for him, and all of them were kibble. And it kind of helped a little bit, but then he would go through waves of having hot spots again and like in and out. I'm like, oh, I just can't quite get it. So I ended up cooking for him, like such a gourmet dog mom, and, lentils and quinoa and like these green supplements and, all the stuff that he needed in there, but really simple. And again, it sort of worked, but not best. And then I finally found this one dog food, and it's a woman-owned business in Vancouver, named Laura, and it's called Virtue Dogs, like chew, CHEW.
Okay.
And it comes as like overnight oats, sort of. It comes in a big bag of sort of like oats mixed with all the supplements and everything that a dog needs, including microalgae, which is really great for the skin. And so he's loving that. His skin is perfect, and he's like a really good weight. He kind of went up and down as I was experimenting with him with his weight. But now, he's thriving and loving that food. So I'm so excited that we found one that Zach is thriving on. And the main reason I didn't want to feed him animal products is because it just sucks to, harm an animal to feed your own. It just doesn't make sense in my mind if I'm vegan. And that's the main reason I'm going to stay vegan for the rest of my life. It's for the animals, I've made that connection. And it took me a bit to get there, but that's definitely the most important connection for me. So if I didn't have to harm an animal to feed my own furry friend, then fantastic.
Heck yeah. That is, and that, just to make a note, guys, you can't feed your cat vegan. Believe me, I've done enough research on that. That is not yet figured out. They have a lot different digestive tracts than dogs, but dogs totally can thrive. And in fact, they can live longer lives if we stop feeding them animal products and animal byproducts. So it's a really good thing I'm going to have to look up Virtue and see if she will ship to me in the United States.
Totally. I think eventually.
that would be amazing. Okay. So, all right. I want to switch a little bit I want to talk all the things that you're doing with business, but I want to talk about you being an entrepreneur. Where did that start? You went to school for communications, and then what? Like you started your jewels, your cereal, like where did that all start? Like, did you decide you just didn't want to do corporate and you're like, I just want to do my own thing? Like, where did it all start?
Well, I honestly didn't know what to do, which is a very common thing when you're an athlete and you retire and you feel like, a little bit of a lost dog. As an athlete, you have everything planned out for you. You have your training schedule, you have your coaches telling you what's up. You have to, every single thing in your day is planned out and your trips are planned, everything. So you don't really have to think. It's just like you have a goal, you focus on it and you try your best to achieve them. And it's all very clear. But then when you retire, a lot of athletes go through a depression. They go through like a who am I moment. And, I definitely had a bit of that. But at the same time, I was just kind of excited for the next chapter. And for anyone going through that, I think that's what you have to do. You just have to think of like, okay, what do I like doing? And let's just focus on that right now. Even though I don't have an answer of like, oh, I'm going to be, successful in a corporate job. I'm going to, do this, do that. You don't really have to know. You just have to start somewhere. And that's what I ended up doing. So communications was the first step. And then I created, my breakfast cereal. I did a project for, business marketing class, and everyone was doing a set project. I'm like, can I just do my own thing over here? Because I want to create a breakfast cereal and sell at the farmer's market. And he's like, yeah, we'll dock 30% off your mark, but sure. Like, what? Come on. Anyway,
oh my gosh.
So I did that. And I ended up using that business plan and moving forward with it for, I think, 7 years. I had Jules Fuel with my mom, and we were doing farmers markets, and we were, going to grocery stores, and I was in Whole Foods and all, it went quite far, but then I had to decide at one point if I wanted to make it huge or move on to something else, because it was kind of at that breaking point. And but from there I became a nutritionist. And I think that is when I just became so passionate about plant-based eating. And first of all, like I said, it was for the health benefits, but then I dove deep, like most plant eaters in the beginning do. And I watched all the documentaries about, Cowspiracy. And then I watched Earthlings and got connected to the animal side. And then from there on, like I started Hooked on Plants, my blog 5 or 6 years ago, just because I needed somewhere to put all this information, because no one in my life was vegan or plant-based or had any idea around it, which is why I didn't either. So it was kind of the first one. And I just dove deep. I put out a Why Vegan page on my blog. And so anytime anyone asked me at dinner parties or whatever, I could just say, oh, I don't know, just check out my blog. I didn't have all the answers yet,
Yeah.
And then I did a recipe a week there and kind of built that out. And from there, like doors open and you meet people. And as long as you're doing something that you're passionate about, everything, things start to open up. So that's where I ended up where I am today with 80/20 Plants app and working with an amazing team with No Meat Athlete and Complement that has vegan essentials and Complement protein powder and plant bites, which are like whole food energy bites. And but the main thing is 80/20 Plants and really helping people transition more towards plant-based eating in a super welcoming way, something that I wish I had when I was going plant-based in the beginning.
For sure. I think what you've created is amazing. And I can't wait to hear like more details about it. Hey friend, before we get too far into this episode, I want to be sure you know about how the environment plays a role on your overall health. For over a decade, I've been learning so much about the lack of health regulation in the personal care and food industries. And that's actually one of the reasons why I started this show. You deserve to know how to protect you and your family from unwanted body burden, and I share further information about how to make better choices and vote with your dollar in our private Facebook community called The Urban Pharmacy. On that note, I want to let you know about one of the easiest ways that we've switched to safer, and that's through my favorite clean beauty brand called Beauty Counter. Your skin is your largest organ, and what you put on it every day matters a lot. And with a low carbon footprint, cruelty-free formulations, and high-performing results, I haven't found a better beauty brand than Beauty Counter in over 5 years of working with this mission-driven brand. To learn more and shop clean, head to mybetterbeauty.com. Okay, so we kind of have learned a little bit where your entrepreneur drive came from. That was kind of the tipping point when you became that nutritionist. You're like, okay, I really do feel like I can be the, like a spearheader, and I can start to change the world one dinner party or conversation at a time, one recipe at a time on my blog, right? That's amazing. I feel like you are, though, Julia, a serial entrepreneur. You're a serial entrepreneur. You're not just like, you don't just have one thing going. So, okay, which Instagram handle did you start first? Was it Hooked on Plants?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you started Hooked on Plants. You've had that for several years now.
Mm-hmm.
And then you decided, tell me about No Meat Athlete. I need to know about that.
Yeah. So yeah, from Hooked on Plants, I'll go into the story too, because it's kind of fun. I went to New York for Main Street Vegan. Have you heard of that? Victoria Moran. She's named one of the sexiest vegans over 60 or something.
Oh, yes.
Amazing.
For sure.
Yeah. So she does this vegan academy, and I went there and I went to New York and ate vegan food. It was awesome, and learned a lot about just more, got connected to even more being a passionate vegan. And from there, she was interviewing someone for her podcast, Nil Zacharias, who was involved with 80/20 Plants, which was called Mostly Plants at the time. And they needed someone to do the videos for their app that they were creating. And so that's how I was connected with Matt Tallman now, who's the CEO of 80/20 Plants. And now we have an incredible team working on everything, the coaching in the background and just the development of the app, which is insane. And I don't know that language at all. So we have an incredible guy doing that. So it's a really cool team to be a part of. And yeah, it was a lot in the beginning to do all those videos all about like how to go plant-based when you're eating out at a restaurant. What do you say? When you're going to a barbecue, what do you say? What do you, just like all that stuff that you deal with in the beginning. So we help people with that. And then, it's just evolved. It's evolving constantly because we're listening to the customers within our app and just hearing about their struggles and what they want better within the app. And it's just a constant process, and it's really exciting to be a part of. And then No Meat Athlete is involved now too, because they're a partner within 80/20. So I take care of their social media, as well as Complement, which is their sister company that does the vegan essentials and protein and that kind of stuff. So
got it. Okay. So No Meat Athlete promotes 80/20.
Yeah.
Exactly. Okay. And so I was thinking here, I'm like, how in the world does this girl do all of this? Like, how does she make an app? Okay. So you are with
not all meat. That's for damn. Yeah.
But you have like tons of the insight that's going into all of the, repertoire, all of the education that's being put out there. So that's amazing. Okay. So, but you have your hands in so many things. So what is your main thing? What does a day in the life of Julia look like when you wake up? Like, what all are you doing on a daily basis to help people? Because I know you're changing the world in a big way.
We're trying, man. We're trying. It's definitely a lot within one day. Lots of different hats and different directions and all of it, but it's all exciting and fun. But I think, the majority of it at all is like, I always have this big picture idea in my mind of the day. It's like helping people go plant-based. It's just so simple. And also helping people not only go just plant-based, but like helping them start to, learn to fall in love with themselves again, with fueling themselves with the right food. Because when you do that, when you fuel yourself with the right nourishment, the right food, I'm not going to say right or wrong, okay, the healthiest food possible, then you're going to start to feel better, not only like within your body, and you're going to help, prevent disease. You're going to help yourself lose some extra pounds and just have more energy and all of it. But also just, you're going to feel more connected with your food and the world around you. That's what I found anyways. When I went plant-based, I knew where my food was coming from. And then I realized that I was doing the least amount of harm as possible. And it just makes you feel good. It's that real feel good feeling. Yeah. So lots of coaching going on within the app and helping people with their struggles, which is really gratifying and pretty cool to be a part of.
So you're doing one-on-one coaching.
Mm-hmm.
You guys
have that's included. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So you're doing one-on-one coaching with people. The team is probably doing that as well. And then you guys have like group stuff that goes on as well with the app, or it's just the app and then one-on-one coaching?
Yeah. Well, when people sign up, they get education every single day. So they get just like a 5-minute education around plant-based eating. And they start with breakfast first for 7 days, and then snacks for the next 7 days, and then add in lunch for the next 7 days, and then dinner. And then at that point, you should be at least 80% plant-based. And we really focus on whole plant-based foods. And then that 20%, we just tell people zero judgment. If you're still eating animal products, that's okay. I mean, for me, it took me a year to transition completely. And if people don't want to go 100%, then, that's fine. If we help the entire world go at least 80% plant-based, this world would be a hugely better place. And we're just trying to, get rid of the stigma of making people feel bad about that imperfection that they might have, and instead focusing on like what we were talking about, the abundance, and adding the good stuff in, adding those plants into your life and reaping the benefits from that instead. So it's a positive mindset.
For sure. I love that. I think it's an approachable ratio, the 80-20. I think that's super inviting and that anybody can do it. Okay. So we've kind of touched on this, but like, what is your driving force that gets you out of bed as an entrepreneur every single day? Because we both know that as an entrepreneur, it's not always easy, like at all.
Yeah. There's a lot going on all the time. Yeah, I think that just being an entrepreneur though is exciting in a way. You don't know exactly what's going to go on in the day. You wake up and, having that kind of idea of I get to help people today is a really good feeling. And then not only that, but, for me, I am vegan. So the underlying thing of all of it is helping animals and the environment. And if I want to have a kid, I know that you have a kid, you're a mom, right? You're a mom. Yeah. And, helping the environment so that they can live a good life too. So it's all encompassing, but it all starts with like the little details that we do. And we go into the coaching zone, we answer questions, and I try to put out as much education as possible on the 80-20 plants, No Meat Athlete and complement accounts. And I do lots of, live interviews to share other people's stories, which I really like doing. I like interviewing people and hearing their stories. I'm not as good at talking about myself.
I love it. We love hearing your story.
I just did a really good one actually with the Plant Riot. Do you know Rachel? You have to follow her. Yeah, she's great. She's got a really good following, and for a good reason, because her food is amazing and beautiful. But yeah, we just did that today. So lots of that kind of stuff. And then Instagram.
Oh, actually, yeah, I saw your live today.
Yeah. It was fun. And then we have a Facebook group too. So we really try to connect with the people within the app as much as possible and just learn from them, because we're learning and evolving as we go. It's still considered a startup because we're figuring it all out and really just trying to, pinpoint what people need from us. So
for sure. So you are truly like a healer. You're basically a healer and you want to change the world, and that is amazing. And that's what gets you out of bed. And that's freaking awesome. And
well, that sounds good when you put it that way.
Heck yeah. I mean, that's what you just said. I mean, it is hard being an entrepreneur, but like you just said, it is incredibly rewarding. And like to know that you can change people's lives and that you're helping people, but also figuring it out yourself. Like it's all part of doing the dang thing. And I think a lot of people are super hesitant to become an entrepreneur in any fashion, one way, shape, or form, just because they feel that they'll fail. But like, if you don't try, you'll never know. And if you don't try, you don't know who you like. If you don't put yourself out there, you are not helping these potential thousands of people or however many people you want to help, right? Like just by putting yourself out there and kind of facing the fear and learning along the way. So I think that that's super powerful, what you said.
Yeah. And for people listening, everyone's got their own story, right? And everyone can learn from your story. So I think that's so right. You have to step out of your comfort zone a bit, even though you might not have the answers of what your future is going to look like in 5 years. You know, I've always been bad at that. Like, what's my 5 and 10 year goals?
Oh, me too.
You know, it's just, well,
me
we're
too.
just going to keep doing it and see what happens. But
yeah, that's why I hired a coach. Like at the beginning of COVID, I was like, all right, I need somebody to kind of like get me on track here and she's like, okay, first thing we're going to do, which by the way, Steph Weber, if you're listening to this, everybody needs to go. If you're an entrepreneur, they need to go to the Weber Co. and follow her because she's amazing. She's changed my life. I wouldn't be doing this podcast if it wasn't for her.
Oh, cool.
But she's like, okay, Stace, we're going to make a 5 and a 10 year plan. And I was like, what? Yeah. How about we just focus on
big
today,
picture,
today or tomorrow? Yeah. Or the big picture, like overall, like my entire life, because I can see that, but like 5 and 10 years, now you're asking me to like actually get focused. And that's really hard for me, especially as a creative entrepreneur. So that's really, really hard. But hey.
Oh, I'm going to follow her. I could probably.
Oh, you need to. She's amazing. She's amazing. She's actually taking clients right now and,
cool.
Truly can help any entrepreneur with brand strategy. So she's very, very good at that. Okay. So before we just kind of shift away from entrepreneurship, what words of encouragement do you have or wisdom for people who are trying to pursue their dream or their business venture?
I think, just one step at a time and not being afraid to step out of your comfort zone and not being afraid to not know the answers, you know. It's sort of how I started after retiring. It's just, you got to start somewhere, even if you just have no clue what you're doing, and doors will open up if you're staying true to yourself and actually finding something that you're passionate about. So that can be tricky sometimes for people, you know, figuring out what your passion is. And if you don't have one, I encourage you to dig into veganism. It's powerful and it's super inspiring to just watch all of these documentaries and realize that you can be a part of the solution by choosing what you put on your plate. So figure out what you love doing and just take it a step at a time.
Ooh, that is super powerful. Okay. So here, wow. Yeah. Like, so find something that you're passionate about. And you guys, you heard it from Julia. And if you have nothing that you're passionate about, consider going vegan, because you know what, there's 3 really good reasons to go vegan. And you know, more than just 3, but there are 3 main things that I think can hit our hearts in one way, shape, or form. So learn more about that. So talking just before we kind of wrap up, Julia, talking about baby steps that you just brought up, what are your top 3 baby step things that you could say to people who are wanting to dabble into veganism, plant-based living, 80-20 lifestyle, aside from your amazing app that you have? What are your top 3 little tips to help them get started?
First of all, figure out the reason you're doing it personally. You know, my mom's plant-based now, which is awesome. But she had to do research to really understand why. You know, she could hear it from me, and we have such a great relationship. So she believed me right away, but she was like, oh, well, I got to do my research. And she's a reader. So she read the China Study, Eat to Live, How Not to Die, you know, do your research and become educated and become inspired to do it for your personal reasoning, whether that be, you know, preventing heart disease, diabetes, obesity, and lots of cancers, and even Alzheimer's. Like if Alzheimer's runs in your family, this is a great reason to start eating more plants. So it could be either for your health, it could be for the environment. You know, it takes 9 to 15 times more resources to make an animal calorie versus a plant calorie. And our resources are running out. Watch documentaries like Cowspiracy and Seaspiracy, super powerful. And then also, I think the strongest point is to get that animal connection. Go to a farm sanctuary and meet the animals. And it's super fun, but you're also like, wow, it's so powerful just, you know, getting to know a pig and a cow and like realizing how similar they are to our dogs and our family members. And then, once you make that connection, then it's kind of like the easiest thing that you can possibly do. And then also just practical tips that we talk a lot about in the app is just plant-basify or veganize your old favorite recipes. So, you think of like, you probably have on rotation 5 to 10 recipes in a week, not even. And say, okay, well, I'm going to make plant-based pizza this time, or, bean tacos instead of beef tacos. I'm going to throw lentils in my pasta instead of bolognese with meat. It's super easy to just make that little plant-based switch. And all of a sudden you have this new repertoire of plant-based meals without the cholesterol and saturated fat. And, eating plants also, I could really dive deep into this, but it really helps your microbiome. And your microbiome having a healthy gut is the number one precursor to all health. Everything is determined by how healthy your gut is and diverse your gut is. So you have to eat a diversity of plants, get all those prebiotic plant fibers in your system. And eventually you'll start feeling better and better each day if you're going from a standard American diet to a plant-based diet. And then I could go on and on, but we also talk a lot about gas and bloating, because people, when they first start off and they're not used to the plant fiber, they're like, oh, I'm dealing with so much gas and bloating. And it's totally normal because your body and your microbiome isn't used to digesting these fibers. So we work with people to, add them in slowly and train your gut like a muscle. Don't be afraid of beans and legumes if they give you gas right away. And we give them tips about soaking and just training it like a muscle, going low and slow.
For
just
sure.
Like what Dr. B, the gut health MD says, right?
Oh yeah.
That's an amazing book, Fiber Fuel.
Yes. I am withholding his episode, just waiting for the time to air it. I've interviewed him, and you could talk to him for eons about the gut, because
it's fascinating.
It's just so important. And we can heal ourselves and we can heal our gut. Here's a little question I have with the beans. Do you suggest that people put seaweed in the water, a piece of kombu, to help with the gassiness? Yeah.
Yeah, that works. And then also baking soda. You can soak them with a bit of baking soda, and just soak them overnight in water, and then rinse them the next morning, and then cook them to death, like a couple hours. Just make sure you have enough water in there. And that'll really help instead of just having it from the can. People really, really dig that.
That helps.
But and they're so important to include in your diet. Whole grains, legumes, and beans, fruits and veggies should be the base of your plant-based diet, and that's when you will feel your best.
Heck yeah. Sounds like the power plate from PCRM, from Physicians Committee. It's just
a great one.
A big plate with grain, beans, legumes, or with fruit and veggies. It's just pretty easy.
And a good sauce.
The secret is in the sauce, and I will be dropping an ebook on that someday. I promise.
Ooh, I like that.
Hold me to that one, because sauce is important. Okay, so Julia, where can we find you? Like, you have so many things. I'm going to drop all of your links in the show notes, but where do you want people to follow you? Do you have specific resources you want to push people toward so that they can get more plants on their plate? Where are you at?
Follow 80/20 Plants on Instagram, and I'm really working hard to, get a bunch of education just in the Instagram account too, and doing lots of lives and all that kind of fun stuff. And then my personal one is Hooked on Plants, and then of course No Meat Athlete. I'm sure a lot of people follow that already, but that's a fun one to follow. And then Love Compliment on Instagram is the vegan essentials, which we didn't really touch on, but supplements are important, especially B12, vitamin D, and EPA, DHA, microalgae. It's about skipping the middleman and going directly to the source. So
for sure.
Yeah.
Totally agree. Too. Yes. And finding a clean source of that too, a clean omega. So important. Okay, my friend. So this is the question that I always ask everybody. And I want to know, what does living a holistic life mean to you?
Yeah, holistic life. Well, it's in the word, really. Whole, right? So it's about living holistically, not only in your nutrition, which is what I focus on all the time. Nutrition is king, but at the same time, it's about having fun. It's about hydrating. It's about getting enough sleep, but also having the balance. So not beating yourself up if you're not perfect in all of these. And it's life. There's ups, there's downs. You can't always be balanced, but living holistically, I think, means you're just as content as possible with what you are doing for yourself and for your body. And one thing I need to work on more is being more mindful, like meditating. But I always tell people, if you're dealing with anxiety, that's a really good thing to do too. And even if it's just taking 20 breaths, just taking a moment and taking 20 breaths. And then also holistically, moving your body is super important. I just always tell people to do a little bit every day. You don't have to go to the gym for 2 hours every 4 days and kill yourself. It's just like, I go for a run every morning with my dog and I do 10 minutes of weight training every day because that's what I find I can stick to. So yeah, it's about creating routine and feeling as content as possible with what you're doing and surrounding yourself with friends and family. And even though it's COVID and it's weird, but there's so many aspects.
I love that so much. And I really do like how you've said 2 or 3 times in that, just being content with where you're at and knowing and trusting that this is a journey, and that wellness is not achieved overnight and habits take time to change. And it's just amazing that we have people like you, Julia, in the world that are helping people change their habits, change their lifestyle, and just up level their wellness. And I'm super thankful to know you. I'm so thankful that you were on. I know that everybody's going to find so much value in this episode. So thank you so much, my friend.
Oh, thank you too. And thanks for all you're doing. You're doing the same thing, helping people figure things out. So thank you.
Well, be well. I'm over here cheering you on because you just finished another episode of The Urban Pharmacy. For today's show notes, head on over to theurbanpharmacy.com and be sure to join us inside our private Facebook group called The Urban Pharmacy, where we share inspiration, live trainings, and holistic living tips to help you build community and the healthy lifestyle that you've always wanted. If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure you hit that subscribe button and please consider leaving us a 5-star review. Before we connect again on the next show, follow me on Instagram at The Urban Pharmacy. That's urban with an H and pharmacy with an F. And I can't wait to hear your wellness journey as we get to know each other better. There's truly no better time than now to level up your life. And I am so proud of you for showing up today. Until next time, be well, Health Crusader.